Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the South Florida Tribune podcast. My name is Scott Morgan Rothcliffe. Pleased to be joined by Gary Kornbluh. And tonight's subject matter will be looking for a new career. Well, Gary Kornbluh will help you find one. So, Gary, as always, it's great to have you on. I know we've had a lot of fun talking about the insurance business during the time you've been working with us to promote your business. But before you do that, though, what I want to do a little bit differently, I want everybody to know exactly who you work for and how they get a hold of you. You're going to announce that information first. But before you do that, though, for all you folks out there that are listening to the show, you can find us on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can listen to wherever you get your podcasts. These shows can also be found on www.southfloridatribune.com. So those are some of the places that you can get. So why don't you give everybody some information about how you can be reached and everything. And then we're going to give everybody an opportunity out there to see if they can find a career in the insurance business. All right, Gary, take it away.
Hey, thanks a lot, Scott. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome.
Hello, viewers and listeners. And the best way to reach me is actually my cell phone, which is 561-305-5949. It's on 24/7. I'm one of those agents that can always be reached. My office number is 954-532-2060. And then just my web address. You can always log in. You can click on the testimonial tab and look at my many, many 5-star reviews. That would be www.MediGapX.com. That's MEDIGAPX.com.
Very good. And you know what I do want to do in a moment is talk about a programming note that we're really looking forward to here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcast Network, debuting on Friday, April 29th, 2022. Fire Up Florida will be out from 8 to 8:30 with myself and Mark Mancini. So to advertise, feel free to give me a call at 954-304-4941, or you can follow us on Twitter at Tribune South as well. So in about 3 weeks, we're looking at Fire Up Florida with myself and Mark Mancini. Mark, obviously, is out of Los Angeles, California. One of the things that we're really working very diligently to do is not only grow these shows locally, but as well nationally. With that said, okay, Gary, let's get to business. How has your industry suffered during the pandemic?
Well, I would say the corporate part of the insurance industry has probably suffered the same fate as many other large corporations, with staffing issues and employees having to work remotely, and so there have been some real issues. However, as an agent doing what I do, this pandemic has actually made my job easier, and it's actually allowed me to write a lot more business. And here's why. The old-fashioned way of doing business as a health insurance or Medicare agent is we would physically, we would get in our car and we would drive to our client's location. It could be their office, could be their home, and we would break out our laptop and help the customer on a face-to-face basis. So post-COVID or during the initial phase of COVID, where we were social distancing and nobody really wanted to meet face-to-face anymore. So I embraced the e-signature process. I had always liked the e-signature. It's just easy process to use, but it became so incredibly valuable for me during the pandemic, because again, people really didn't want to sit down. Everybody was afraid that they didn't want to get the coronavirus. I was perfectly okay with that. And I was able to, as I said, I was able to write a lot more business because, if I was able to sit with, let's say, 3 or 4 or maybe 5 people during the day, physically driving to their location, being an agent using e-sign processes, I easily was able to help twice as many people. So the answer is an easy one for me. The pandemic has actually made my job easier and more productive, ironically.
Okay, well, that's okay. A lot of times during COVID-19, we've been forced to find different ways to adapt to the circumstances that are in front of us. All right, so Gary, is the subject material and the exam difficult?
So to become a licensed 215 agent, well, it always depends on the student, really, to answer your question. If you're a great student and you pick up material, fairly easily, and you're good on taking exams, and I mean you'll get through the study portion and the final assessment just fine. As far as, well, let me just say, you'll be on a little bit of a steep learning curve if you've never been in the insurance industry before. I'll be honest, and I'll say that, because there are a lot of moving parts to the health and Medicare field. So, but again, it really depends on the student. If you're a really good student, and you're really sharp, you'll pick it up. Some people may be on a steeper learning curve than others, but I would say that's really just the study portion of the material. Really, most of your learning really comes in when you're actually out in the field, or you're talking and you're corresponding with prospects, and you're actually writing business. That's when the real training comes in. They call, I guess, on the job training, if you will. That's where the real serious training comes in. But again, if it depends on the student,
Yeah, I have a 215 license myself, and it took me, believe it or not, 5 or 6 months until I got the nerve to take the exam. However, what I did, because everybody has a different learning comprehension level, is I went to the cram course a lot, learned test taking techniques, did everything I had great instructors. And believe it or not, my first attempt in the state of Florida, folks, is a really tough exam because of the scams and the cons. So they certainly make it a lot more difficult. But I was able to pass it with a 70% my first go around, and I was really delighted with that. In fact, I was so excited I passed it the first time around that at the testing center, I left my driver's license there and had to go back and pick it up. That's how I was. But that was a very interesting moment. And ironically, that when I got my license, unfortunately, my mother-in-law had passed away earlier in the week, so I was emotionally spent, and I needed to get it done. But no, you know what though? Some people catch on quicker. I was one of those slow learners, but when you get it, you get it. But test taking techniques are key, and don't be afraid to go out there and do what you have to try to do. So very interesting. So Candy Ebling says, is there a time limit on the exam?
Is there the time limit? I believe I took this many years ago, but if I remember correctly, the time limit, I believe they give you 2 hours. I believe is the time.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, because it may have changed since I've been licensed for. I'm a career agent. I'm over 30 years in the business. So
yeah, I believe you're right. It's 2 hours, and they always say one of the things about taking tests is don't change your answer, or you really get in trouble doing that. So if you have your first gut, do it. I can't tell you how many times I've had to deal with that. So good question by Candy Ebling. We also have Fernando Vargas is watching the show. Thanks for being part of this as well, Fernando. So Gary, is it difficult working from home?
It's it all depends on who's home. I mean, if you're the only one home and everyone else is working at another location, then there are no distractions. I would say the biggest problem working at home are the distractions. Certainly if people are coming in and out of the house, hopefully you have a private office where you can close and even lock the door. And if you've got that type of situation, you can be very productive. But again, working from home is not for everybody. It's worked out really well for me, but I'm 60, and my kids are grown and out, and I mean, I have grandkids now, and and they can be a distraction too. But they know that when the door is closed and locked, they know don't bother grandpa. So, but again, it's all about the distractions. If the less distractions you have at home, obviously, the more productive you're going to be.
Yeah, again, during COVID-19 and pandemic, I've been able to acclimate to working out of my house as well. No problem. It's just a mindset and a discipline that you have to do. Candy Ebling has another question. Do you have to do continuing education?
Oh, okay. And thanks for those questions, Candy. Yes, you do. You have to have believe it's 20. It's different when you're a new agent. The requirement is a
I
little bit
believe
higher.
24, if I remember right.
I think it's 24, but if you're an agent, if you're a writing agent 4 years or more, I think they cut that down to 20. But yeah, absolutely, you have continuing education because, the industry wants to make sure that you stay up on whatever new laws come about, and they want to make sure that you're still knowledgeable and able to, advise the public. So it's very important to do your continuing education. In fact, so important that if you don't do it, the state will not renew your license. And then guess what happens? You don't get paid. So you could have a huge book of business, but if you fail to renew, you don't get paid anymore, because you can only get paid if you're a licensed agent. So it's very important to do those continuing educations. Great question. Thanks for that, viewer.
Okay, how does a health insurance and Medicare agent get paid? Does the customer pay you a fee?
The customer does not pay a fee. Well, at least they don't pay me a fee. Hopefully, they're not paying any other agents a fee either. We, as an agent, we get paid by the insurance company. So if I rate you, a policy with Devoted or with Cigna or with United American, it doesn't matter. I get paid by the insurance company. So the customer does not pay the agent a fee. And then, having said that, it's a really nice business because you can really build up quite a substantial book of business and get paid regularly. So because it pays residual commissions too. So if I never wrote a stitch of business this year, I would still be getting paid because of the business that I have on the books. So now naturally you want to write new business consistently and consistently build that book of business. But it's a wonderful business because you get paid right away. As soon as you sell a policy, you get paid, but then, you get paid ongoing as well. So great business for someone looking for a home-based business. And it can be extremely rewarding. Now, like any other business, you have to work really hard at it for the first good 5 years. But once you do, you really have a business that can generate, a really handsome residual income.
Yeah, I think one of the key points you also mentioned, I think a lot of folks have to be aware of it, that when you're paid by the carrier, most agents do not charge a fee, and that they only provide only a consultation and can charge a fee. So I think that's important that people understand. Now, I'm not going to candy coat the whole thing. There are chargebacks as well. So, for a lot of you folks out there, that chargebacks are part of the business. But you know what? Many of them, of course, the insurance companies, what they'll do is they'll try to protect the business as they can, but you can't go out there and realize that people have to cancel because of financial hardships and so forth. So,
Scott, you make a good point about chargebacks. Do you mind if I comment on that?
I'll go for it.
Chargebacks are really important, and thanks for mentioning that, Scott.
Sure.
But here's the thing: if you're advanced commissions, okay, some companies will advance you commissions. And then if that policy cancels, yes, you could be charged back a portion or all of the commission that was advanced to you because the policy is no longer on the books. But as long as you're doing, and most of the policies that I write, I think most of the arrangements that I have with all my insurance carriers I get paid on an as-earned basis. So that as the client pays their premium, the agent receives the commission. By doing it that way, there's really no instance of getting charged back. So thanks for mentioning that, Scott.
Well, that's a good point. But like anything else, whether you're in insurance and other businesses, chargebacks are out there. You just have to be careful that when you ask questions about any career that involves chargebacks, I'm not just picking on the insurance business, I'm talking about other things, that you don't want to go upside down. Otherwise, you're going to have a big legal headache later on. So as we move forward, okay, what insurance business is more lucrative? Health, Medicare, or P&C, property and casualty?
Okay, well, I've worked in both areas, so I know what's more lucrative. I enjoyed the property and casualty business, and I'm still 220 licensed, so I can still advise my clients. I just don't write the business. I don't have time for it. I am specifically health insurance and Medicare. I can tell you that the property and casualty business can be a good business over the long term. I'm talking about 10 years or more, because it really takes a long time to build a good property and casualty business. The other thing is you need a staff to help you service that book of business. That's why I really like health insurance and Medicare. There's very little servicing. So I don't have to hire a staff, because there's really, I mean, they usually, my clients usually call me first because I encourage them to. But ideally, all they have to do is call the number on the back of their card. That's the customer service number, who has access to their benefits, to their billing. And as an agent, I don't have access to their billing. So usually, in many cases, I'll refer them to the customer service number on the back of their card. I can usually guide them initially. But then if they have to call the customer service, let's say it's a billing issue, then they'll definitely have to call the customer service. But I've worked in both areas, and I'll tell you that the health and Medicare is, I feel that it's much, much more enjoyable. It's more rewarding, and it's much less service intensive, which means, again, you don't have to hire a staff. You can do it on your own, and then you can take vacations. You have a more flexible schedule as well with the health and Medicare business. And you can write business from your vacation spot in Colorado. Fire up your laptop computer, and you can write your customer a policy right from your hotel room. So again, that's the other beauty of having a home base. I call it a home-based business, but really it's a remote business, because you literally do business remotely. So yeah, I would say if you're thinking of going into the insurance industry and you're trying to figure out which should I go toward property and casualty, auto and homeowners insurance, or should I go toward health and Medicare? I would probably steer you toward, having done both, I would steer you toward health and Medicare, definitely.
A good shrewd business, anyways, doesn't want their salespeople doing service. They want them out there getting new business, and we'll leave it at that. So
yeah.
But that said, are these FMOs and MGAs easy to find? And is a new agent better off starting out this way, or being an independent agent?
So FMOs, and so thanks for mentioning that, because I should have mentioned that when you start out as an agent, you'll probably want to sign up with an FMO or an MGA. Those are just acronyms. They stand for Field Marketing Office and Master General Agent. These are basically the middlemen between you, the agent, the writing agent, and the insurance company. Let's say it's Humana or it's United Healthcare. So the MGA or the FMO is basically the middleman. It's just the channels of distribution. It's the way the health insurance and the Medicare products are distributed. They're very easy to find. You could just do a Google search, or you could call me and I can tell you who I work with. And I've switched a couple of times, and finally I think I found the FMO that I really enjoy working with the most. But they pretty much all offer similar services. But as a new agent, you're going to want to sign up with an FMO, because as a new agent, you're going to want and need the marketing support. They have lead programs that they can enroll you in. In many cases, they cover the cost for your licensing, your exams. So in the beginning, it's good to sign up with an FMO or an MGA, and eventually you can be independent. Now, let me just say that even career agents like myself, I'm even signed up with an FMO for Medicare Advantage plans, because that works better for me. So whether you're a new agent or a career agent, FMOs, MGAs, they're easy to find. Some are better than others, but they are easy to find, and they can be quite helpful.
Okay.
Very, very helpful, especially as a new agent.
I think the one thing that people have to be very conscious of, and I nearly had this problem, but I thought better of it when I was reading my paperwork when I was actually going to do it, is you got to be careful of non-compete clauses. and I mean non-compete clauses in the health insurance in business, let alone Medicare. If you sign the right one, they can prevent you from doing business. And even though you're in a place like Florida, which is a right to work state, if they have deep pockets, they say, well, we're not going to enforce it. You know what, to me, maybe you say that, maybe you don't. But I don't know if you concur with this. Stay away from non-compete clauses if at all avoidable.
Scott, you make an interesting point, because there are a couple of carriers out there. One I can think of in particular, names I won't mention, but they require you, if you sign up with them, you can only sell their line of products, whether it's health insurance or Medicare. That's it. And you do have to sign an NDA. And they don't allow you to, in most cases, they don't allow you to sell outside of their company. So I think that's what you mean by a non-disclosure agreement. No, Scott's right. You don't want to sign any type of agreement. You really want to have an arrangement like I have as an independent agent, so that you can represent all of the major carriers, right? Not just one or two. So that is important. It's definitely better. You're better off being an independent agent and representing, most of the carriers. Now there is an additional exam that you have to take and you have to pass, called the AHIP exam, and it's not easy. But that allows you to become independent and represent all of the Medicare carriers. But it's definitely advisable, Scott. So that was a great mention.
The thing that I want to emphasize is, and I know lots of times people are just unaware. I don't want to use the word ignorant, because I think that's a wrong choice of words. But I've seen so many insurance agents get burned because they sign a non-disclosure agreement, no compete clause. They can't go anywhere. And you know what? The one thing that, which is our objective when Gary and I do these shows, folks, we advise you to get a pencil and paper and write things down, whether you're listening to it audio or watching it here on YouTube and Twitter as well, and take some astute notes, because we try as hard as we can to educate you and make sure you have all the information that you need. If you don't get it the first time, press a rewind, listen to it again. But stay away from non-compete clauses. They are absolutely dangerous. And the last thing you want to do is find yourself putting all this work into your career, but because of a document that you didn't either read over carefully enough, you don't want to get lawyers against lawyers over a career choice like this. That's the last thing you want to do. All right, one other thing I want to...
Scott, let me just mention one other thing, because you mentioned lawyers, and that's a really good point you bring up. Like Scott's saying, if you want to avoid any potential complications down the road from a non-disclosure, and let's say a company presents you with one as terms of working for their company, maybe you may want to bring that to an attorney and have that attorney look over that non-disclosure agreement. Okay, so and I just wanted to piggyback off what you were saying.
Well, it's called Preventative 101.
There you go. Absolutely.
There you go. Preventative, proactive 101. Get an attorney involved. Look at it. Now, I don't think it's any good. Onward you go. Because I got news for you. There's no shortage of insurance jobs out there. You just have to be smart enough with the company that you choose. Bear in mind, folks, you're interviewing the company just like they're interviewing you as well. One more question I want to ask Gary, and then we'll call it a night. How long does it take to start earning enough to make a living?
Okay. That's always the most important question anyway, right? If I start on this new business, how long is it going to take before I start seeing money come in? Now, that's a very subjective question, because, to make a living is different. It's different from one person to another. One person can make a really good living at 50,000. Maybe someone needs twice that. But as far as you can pretty much earn money, start earning commissions right away with your very first sale. So it's really pretty much immediate. And so your objective really is, if you decide to go into this business, study, understand the material as best as you can, get your exam, get your 215 out of the way, maybe find a good FMO or a good MGA to work with. And then, and then you can start writing business. As far as making a living, I've seen people start to make a very handsome living after only 2 or 3 years in the business. That's not uncommon. But again, you can actually start bringing in revenue immediately. Now, sometimes they're better than others. Like during open enrollment periods, obviously are a lot more busy periods. So like Obamacare open enrollments from November 1st to December 15th. So naturally, you're going to do more business during that time frame than you would outside of the open enrollment. Medicare is the same way. It's from October 15th to December 7th. So naturally, you're going to do more business during those open enrollment periods. But that's not to say that there's not still business to be written during those blackout periods, those in-between periods. Because let's face it, on the Medicare side, there's always people turning 65. They always need Medicare. There's always people moving in from out of state. There seems to be more people moving into Florida, more and more these days. There are always people that are Medicare eligible and they're leaving their jobs. They're losing their group coverage. These are all special enrollments. And then the same and similar special enrollment opportunities and situations with the marketplace.
Well, just a couple of things I want to throw out there before we call it a night. Number one, the episode is called Looking for a New Career. What I generally do, and I'm not a tax guy, so don't take me for what it's worth, but as a rule of thought, I like to take 25, 30% off the top, have a separate bank account, cover my income taxes, talk to your accountant, don't talk to me. That usually keeps you safe. And my final question of the night, Gary, I know many of these careers usually are 1099 forms, but do you ever find many where the actual companies take out taxes instead of the 1099 approach?
Not from what I've seen. If you're an independent agent, that's exactly what you'll get each year. Is you'll get a 1099.
Right.
So no taxes are withheld. So, like most independent business owners, you'll probably end up filing your CPA or your accountant, your tax preparer will probably advise you to pay estimated quarterly taxes. And that's usually the best the best way to approach that.
All right, folks, you're listening to South Florida Tribune Podcast. My name is Scott Morganroth, along with Gary Kornbluh. Once again, the title of the broadcast is called Looking for a New Career. Obviously, Gary's been in the insurance business for the better part of 32 years. I know what he's been able to do. One of the things that's been a benefit to him is when people Google his name, they realize not only are they seeing what he does with us here at the Tribune with his videos, but he's written some outstanding articles for the South Florida Tribune. So Gary gives you both ends, both the written as well as the visual side as well, and the audio side. So Gary's been a remarkable guy to work with, and we still have a couple more episodes ahead, and then we'll continue to work on longer term plans. But Gary, any closing thoughts about what you want people to go ahead and take from this show?
I just want people to understand that there is a great career out there waiting for them that is a very much of a remote, work from your home office or your home type of business. And it's just, it's just a wonderful opportunity. If you have a little bit of a baseline knowledge of insurance, that's great. That's a big plus. But you can go into this completely cold, never having even seen an insurance policy. And if you're a good student and you're a good people person, you enjoy talking to people and helping people, it can be an extremely rewarding career in a very short period of time, and can allow you really to build a long-term business for yourself and your family.
Well, let's not lose sight of the fact that gas prices are over $4 a gallon. At some point, we hope that goes down, but I'm not going to get into that, another animal altogether. So, right. Gary, as we close out the show, give everybody an opportunity one more time how they can get a hold of you.
Okay, and before I do that, I just want to thank you again, Scott. This has been a tremendous opportunity for me working with you and with South Florida Tribune. It's really helped me to get my business out there. Putting me in the forefront, because when you do Google searches, and I thank you, Scott, you'll usually find me on the first page. So I don't want to discount what Scott has done for me. Scott and South Florida Tribune have been an amazing business partner to work with. So keep that in mind also when you're setting up your home-based business or any type of business for that matter. Definitely give Scott over at the South Florida Tribune a call, because he's done wonders for me and for my business.
Well,
With that said, go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. Go ahead.
With that said, the best way to get a hold of me is my cell phone. It's on 24/7, as I mentioned earlier, and it's 561 area code 305-5949. My office is 954-532-2060. So call either number. I'll always answer and give you the best advice that I possibly can.
All right. And on a programming note, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, debuting on Friday, April 29th, 2022, Fire Up Florida, come out from 8 to 8:30 Eastern Time with myself and Mark Mancini. To advertise with the Tribune, feel free to contact me, 954-304-4941. You can also find me on Twitter at Tribune South. So I'm going to go over this information one more time. If you want to hear the audio broadcast, you can find it on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel at no cost. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. I mentioned the Twitter again, but it's at Tribune South. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, don't hesitate to do so. Be more than happy to connect with you there. And more importantly, if you want to email us, southfloridatribune@gmail.com, also gets it done. You know, Gary, we appreciate the kind words that you said to us, but I think what's really been enjoyable about working with you, obviously this is the beginning of a long-time relationship that we're going to have going forward. It's always nice to have shows on here that educate the consumer, and I think that that's a big benefit that we've had with you as a partner as well. So meanwhile, on behalf of Gary Kornbluh, my name is Scott Morganroth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the South Florida Tribune podcast. And once again, the title of the show is Looking for a New Career. We will catch you the next time. Take care, everybody, and have yourself a wonderful weekend.
Take care. Good night, everyone.